Okay, this is a 2004 Honda CRV, and I wanted to show you how to take apart the center console on this car. Actually, I'm going to show you how to put it back together, and I found Jim. My name is Jim. You can see me at ifoundjim.com. Anyway, I'm going to explain to you what happened here. Quite a lot has happened, actually. I put a new stereo system in, for one, which is this guy right there. And it's kind of a nice little stereo. Let's see if we can get the focus better here. And then, here's all this stuff is all apart right here. You would not believe how difficult this lower panel was to get out. And if you search on YouTube, there's nobody taking it out that I could find. The reason I have this all apart, though, is because I was driving this thing yesterday. It was in the shop getting some work done. And I had a noise just like a ball bearing or almost like a marble that was rolling around down in this area down here somewhere. And I was absolutely flustered as to what it was. I actually thought that potentially the mechanics had put a socket somewhere and lost it down low in the car somewhere. Well, lo and behold, I started driving, and every time I turned the wheel left and right like this, I'd hear, and I'm like, what in the hell is that? Turns out, you know what it was? It was a battery. And the only explanation I can have for this is that it potentially went down into the duct somewhere, either up in top here, or there are ducts in back of the seat here that, you know, feed the heat to the back seat. And maybe somebody kicked the battery into the duct, and then it went down and rolled down into this box down into here. And darn it, hang on. Okay, so it was down in here. See that hole right there, right above the light? That's the hole for the heater. And this is the part that came out right here. So I'm gonna put this back together and show you guys how it's done. So first of all, this might take a little bit of time. I think what I'm gonna do is we're gonna put her back together. Let's see if we can get this thing set up here. This might be a long video, but let me see if that's pointed in the right direction. And I'll try not to get in the way as I shoot this thing. And you've got to absolutely have one of these guys. This is called the trim stick right here. And hang on. As I say, this may take a little bit of doing to get this all done. In a nicely allotted amount of time. But anyway, I'm going to put this guy back in place here. If I can remember how it goes. Sure I do. It's a pain in the butt. Okay, I'm going to pause this in the meantime while I get this going, so bear with me. Okay, so I've got the, as I said, I had to take a vacuum cleaner and I put this piece back on right here, but I had to take this piece off and go down. Luckily, I went down into that first hole that you saw, which is the vent hole, and I vacuumed out that one battery. God forbid. See, there's no more batteries in there. There's only one. I'll be damned if I put it back together and find another one rolling around there. But anyway, here's the side of it right in here. So it just goes like that. Okay, now the next step is this guy right here. I want to tell you, this thing was a real bare. And I'm going to show you what you've got is you've got a screw, a screw, a screw right there, and you've got another screw right here. So that's the way it goes in. And I've got to just plug in the connector for the lighter. And then of course this guy here opens up. And then on this side was attached on the left side, and I could not figure it out for the life of me. Well, that's where that trim stick comes in handy. Where's that trim stick? What did I do with it already? Anyway, you can see these tabs right here. These tabs had to be pried and pushed away. So you had to pry them and push them away like this. So I'm going to put that back together. And I'm going to do this from the, you have to do this from the bottom up. When you take it all apart, you do it from the top down. So hang on just a second. So here's that trim stick. And when this was all together, he actually had to, down here, you had to go in here like this and push out. I didn't have a clue because there's nobody on YouTube that was showing me how to get this side out. I thought it was attached up into here somewhere. And of course you have the brake right here too. So this used to sit below. This is a new stereo I put in up here, up on top, and this is just the USB. And this is actually going to go through the bottom drawer here, basically. Let's see, so that's going to go. I'm going to stick that into here, like this. Okay, so this way there'll be a charging cord right here from the radio, and then I can just put a phone in here instead of going underneath of this like I used to have it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this piece in place right here, and I'll try not to get in the way of the camera here. I'm going to walk around to the other side here, because it actually has to come in this way here. And it's a bear, let me tell you. And I may have a problem with that. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and hook up. Well, let me show you. Of course, you have to hook up. This is the power supply for the lighter, so that has to be hooked up. And I'll do that while I'm sitting here. Yep, power's going still. Okay. So we'll hook that up. Okay, that's hooked up. There's power going to the lighter. This is the tricky side right here. And I may have to pull the brake back a little bit to get this all to mesh. Now we're going to just go up into here. Make sure that my USB cord is still coming through. I still think that's a good spot for that thing. Okay. Hang on a second here. Okay, I zip tied the that one USB cable on the side over here, which came from the radio, because I didn't want to lose that thing. So it's zip tied in place on this side here. Now we're going to go back over here. And then we're going to pop these little guys in, which is a pain. Find the right spot. Okay, they're in place. I can hear them snapping into place there. Okay, so the left side is on. And now I'm going to work my way over to the right side over there. Okay, now, by the way, I put all my screws in a Ziploc bag because you don't want to lose your screws. And you certainly don't want to lose your nuts. Your screws and nuts. Ha ha ha. Okay, so now, there's a couple pins that this sits on. And then you gotta make sure that the right side is going in properly. I got my USB cord right here. That can be sufficient. I think that's gonna stay in there. Yeah, that'll be fine. It clears. Now, you gotta put this up. And this goes over that. And of course you have to make the sides fit under and in. Which they do. Okay, so that's looking good. That's looking real good. And now I've got my screwdriver. And I gotta remember which screws go where. Let's see, I've got I think these were the blacks. I think these were the I think these are the black screws that go in here. Although I'm not really sure if I remember correctly. No, I think these are the... You don't want to lose a screw down in there while you're messing around with this. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, I figured out which it is here. So there's 6 screws that hold this guy in. And then, so you gotta have to kind of get in there and like I say, don't drop a screw down in there because you're totally screwed. I'm just gonna get them started here. There's one of them. This is where you need a magnetic screwdriver. There's 2. There's actually one in back also. I'll show you. Okay, so we've got this one. We've got this one right there. There's one in back here also, right there. And then you've got one down in here, right there. And one on this side over here, right up in there. Okay, I'm going to continue putting them in. Quite a chore. So I'll just go ahead and put these screws in place. In fact, I'm going to put those 6 screws in place and pause for a second. I don't want to burn up all this. Okay, so she's all in place now. And as I said, there was this screw, which still needs to be tightened. Forgot to tighten that one there. 6 screws. So that's that lower piece of trim. Don't overscrew them or you're gonna bust something. So there's those 3 right here. 1, 2, 1. There's 1, 2. There's 3. There's a 4th one right there. Right there. And this slides together up in here. There's a couple dogs that go up underneath in here. And then we've got these guys here. These are those little pins here, so these actually just go in real simple. And if you break them, you can get new ones. And they just push them in place. And there's one on the other side over here. Okay, that's snapped in place there. Right there. Okay, so that lower unit is in place, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the control unit in, which I've already taken this apart before, and I put the new light bulbs in here. You actually, to put light bulbs in this, you have to unscrew this back plate here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws, and that comes apart. You pull it off, and then there's light bulbs in here that illuminate these dials. So now what this does is, I'll show you, this connects right there. Those connectors go together, so I'm going to do that and screw that in place. Okay, you're still watching, good. I'm going to make sure my camera angle's right. Yeah, it looks pretty good. We can move it up a little bit. Okay, so now this guy, okay, everything's done here. We gotta make sure. This is my mic for my radio. This was a bear to put in, by the way. The radio wasn't a total bear, but it was a bear. Okay, so now this goes in, snaps like that. Okay, that's snapped in place, okay? Remember, we had this hooked up, that's the lighter. This is a little tricky getting into also. Hang on a second. This was not the easiest deal in the world. Can't remember if I had this out before. I guess I did. Let's try that. Okay, she's going into place. And this actually pushes in place. There's some pins on the back of that. There we go. See, that's in place now. This can go forward. And now there's 2 screws that attach this. There's 2 screws that go on top there. I'll show you real quick. These guys right here. A screw here. There's a screw. See the 2 screw holes? Those are these guys right here. So the control unit's back in place for the heating. I sure hope I don't take this apart again, or put this back together and find one more battery down there rolling around. But if I do, I know how to get to it and get it out simply now. Okay, let's put this. So in order to change the light bulbs on this unit here, you have to start from the top down. God, don't lose that screw. You got to start from the top down to get the control, the heater and AC control unit out. Dial control unit. Don't over tighten and break something. Just snug them up. Those are snug. Okay, so that's in. The next part is this box right here. And let's see. 2 screws there, that's right. So let's see, you gotta go. I got 3 screws left. There's one that goes in the center of the box, and then there's two that go underneath this part here. See, this comes out too, like this. And you just have to pull that apart. I'll show you that in just a second. But I'm not going to do anything after that yet. I got to pop this back in place. So when you're pulling this box out, there's a cover on the inside, and you have to pull that cover out. And I made a kind of an interesting little tool to do that with. I just took this guy right here, vice grips, and this is the nail, and I sharpened it and made it like this so I could get inside the box, kind of like this. And I had to pull this little cover out, basically. So now we're going to put this back in place. And you can see there's tabs right here that lock it in place on the left-hand side. This is just a rubber floor to it. So this goes in, and it basically snaps in place. And then there's that center screw, which I'm going to put in right now. And then that little back piece snaps in place. So let's go ahead and do that. Don't lose a screw back in there either. If you drop a screw, you have to go get another one. I should have a longer screwdriver, but I don't have one in here, and I don't want to interrupt the video. Okay, I'm snugging that back screw up. Okay, so that's in. Okay, now this piece goes in the back, and this only goes one way. This goes, see, there's a couple of pieces, and then the top snaps. So this actually goes in just like this. You can hear it snap in place. That's done. Now we're going to go up to the top here. Hopefully that camera angle is going to be just about right. Let me look at it. Let me just go down a little bit like that. Okay, now we're working on the top section there. Okay, so when I put the radio in, let me get in here without jerking that camera around. This goes back in place. That's just a rubber floor. Now I put this guy in here, and I had to, this is a new radio, and I had to mess with this front cover. I actually had to sand off the dogs on it that snap it in place to make this thing fit, because I didn't want to. Well, anyway, here's what the back looks like right here, and your four ways are attached to the back here, if you can see that. Well, you can see the four-way button, and I didn't disconnect that, so there's 1, 2, 3. Let me bring the camera over so you can see it. Okay, you've got all these sometimes fall off, so you may have to go get another one. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins that go into these slots here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then there's 2 screws on the underside which we screw into place. So I'm going to do that right now. And to get this out, you just unscrew these screws on. See, there's 2 screw holes on the bottom, 1 and 2. That's the last remaining screws. So this basically just goes in. Oh, I got to put my trim strip in here for the radio, and hopefully this will work out. It worked out fine before, so yeah, that's the way it went in. This didn't actually get hooked with anything except force when I push this in place. Okay, so that's it. Now there's 2 screws underneath here which go in. I'm using an old screwdriver, which is probably worn out. Okay, so this is, so when you're taking this top one off, you just undo these screws and then usually put a pair of rubber gloves on, like a pair of Atlas rubber gloves or something that's rubbery, and just pull it straight out from you. Or straight out towards you, I should say. Okay, now we're all back together. Come on, get in there. Okay, so that's all back together. Now, there was one last piece that I took out, which was this guy right here. And this was just on the left side over here. This just goes underneath here. And that just is, that is just the cover piece also. And it's just a trim piece that goes on the underside in there. And that's how you actually put it all back together. I'm gonna have to go take it for a test drive and see if I hear any more rattling around in there, which God forbid I better not. Radio's coming on. It's all back together. This got a backup camera. Also, pretty cool thing. So anyway, that's how you do her. I hope this helps explain it a little bit better. I'm gonna go take it for a test drive, and I hope I don't hear another battery rolling around down there. I shouldn't. There it is. That's your 2004 Honda CRV. How to get that center trim back in place and out of place. Thanks for watching. You can see me at I Found Jim. And don't forget to click and subscribe if you want. See you later.